Welcome back to Dev Dive episode 15. I'm your host, Nighthawk, and today I'm joined by my co-host, Riot LegendLarry.
Hello.
And our guest this week is we don't have a guest. We were supposed to have my good friend Spooks on, but he went through some personal issues recently, and he asked if he could postpone for a week or two. So we're gonna have him on in 2 weeks, I think. 1 or 2 weeks. We'll decide in the future. I'll let you guys know on Twitter and such. But yeah, so it's just gonna be me and Larry today. We're gonna talk about some game news and industry news that's been happening over the past few weeks. We haven't had a lot of time to talk about that kind of thing over the past few episodes since they've been such long ones. I guess we can start there. Since this is we're really just winging this podcast. I wanted to talk about the last few podcasts because I think they've been pretty awesome. We've had some great guests on. We've had Ryan Rigney, comms lead at Riot Games, Right More Dog, game designer, the lead of TFT. So really great insight for him. And then last week we had Right Blastoise on, who is a data science and researcher for Riot R&D, and it was a very mysterious episode because he couldn't talk much about what he's currently doing, but it was still a good show. But yeah, we haven't had a lot of time to just sort of chill out and talk about just normal stuff. So glad to take the opportunity today, even if it wasn't originally planned. So Larry, what have you been up to over the past month?
Yep.
I think I'm right there with you. I think
I'm like
the most effort I've put into anything this past couple months has just been the podcast. I've been putting a lot of work into organizing guests, editing down clips, trying to get some more awareness out there. It's been a lot of fun, but also just like a lot of effort.
Totally. Like I don't know, like the same as last month, I guess. Like, you know, staying indoors, trying to keep safe. You know, I venture out every now and again into the wastelands of what was once LA, to get food and nourishment. I don't know. Today I went to IKEA.
Oh,
I had to
what'd you
pick
get
up
at
some
IKEA?
stuff, yeah. So Vivi's been feeling a little cooped up because
I feel that.
she's been like social distancing before social distancing was like a mandatory thing.
Yeah.
So she's like, you know, I'm feeling a little cooped up. We have a balcony. Let's just go. Let's just do something with the balcony. So like, but we don't have any patio furniture. So we were like, well, apparently IKEA has some sales on some patio sets, and we planned out what we wanted to do, and so yeah, I went to IKEA today to get that stuff.
So what'd you get? Like, what type of furniture you get? Chairs?
The kind you sit on. It's just a simple patio set. Like it's a table, 2 chairs. We wanted to get those like wooden tile things you can put on like on the ground, so it makes it all look nice and like wood tiley. But those are out. Apparently they're getting a new shipment on Friday, so I might jump back there on Friday. Got like curtain rod, some curtains, you know, a little bit. Honestly, it was pretty slim pickings at IKEA. Like usually they have everything. Oh, you know what? The thing that pissed me off the most though?
What's that?
I wanted to get a cake stand, and they had this. They had the display model, but they didn't have any actual ones for sale. I was so mad.
I'm
gonna make it. Oh yeah.
Well, I went to IKEA once when I came to LA, just to like pick up furniture and stuff. And I accidentally picked up one of the display models, and I brought it to the friend, and she's like, "Sir, I can't sell you this. This is a display model." And it was like from the top floor. And if you guys have ever been to IKEA, because this was my first time going to IKEA, because they didn't really have them where I was from. IKEA is a very odd store. You like start, at least for this one, you start at the top floor, and you like walk through a pre-designed path of the store, and there's like no real way to like. There's like shortcuts and stuff throughout the store, but they're all kind of hidden, and it's weird. Yeah. So I picked it up from
something. There's something to note. Like IKEA is set up as like a giant showroom. So think of a store that like has everything displayed, and you have to like walk this path this, like Ben said, this predetermined path, just
Yeah.
through a whole bunch of showroom, like show floor things.
The only stores I really went to before coming to LA were like Walmart and like Target and some malls and stuff. So IKEA is just like really a change of pace. So I had like I forget what it was. It was something that I really needed too, and I got it from the very top floor. I'm like, I was tired. I was like, I'm not gonna walk all the way back and get one. So I'm just like, whatever. I ordered one on Amazon.
Took you like 45 minutes to get from the top to the bottom, right? Like that's
it took forever. And it was busy. It was a busy day at IKEA. This was in January or something. So, or actually probably December. It was okay. It was IKEA like super locked down with. Are they like enforcing a bunch of stuff?
So they did the 6 feet and then masks required. They're doing the same thing that like Whole Foods is doing, where they only let a certain amount of people in the store at once. So like I had to wait in line to even get in, which is fine. Like I waited like 15 minutes, like max, to get in, and then
Did you go to the one down in it's like south of Torrance?
Carson City.
Carson City, yeah, that's the one I went to.
Yep. Yeah. Apparently, Bagel went to the one in Burbank, and he said it took him an hour and a half just to get into the store.
Oh my god, that's a nightmare. I just ordered my like you can do a ship to or a pickup thing there. I know I did that for my desk.
So I was actually thinking about like doing that with the stuff that we still need to get to see if I can like just go there on Friday or Saturday. Just be like,
that's probably better. It's definitely safer for everyone.
Yeah, probably. But we'll see. Anyway, I'm like I said, I'm mad that I didn't get my cake stand because I was gonna. I'm still gonna bake the cake, but now I'm just gonna have to like
just buy one on Amazon
over it or something. I mean, I could, totally. It's just I wanted to have it, here today. And as good as Amazon has gotten, it's not quite as fast as me just picking the thing up and buying it. So
I thought Amazon had 2-hour delivery in LA before I moved here, but apparently that's not really a thing, or at least not where I live.
They have well, I mean, you can do like the fresh Amazon Fresh. Well, they'll deliver groceries to you, but yeah. I mean, I've actually bought something on Amazon and had it delivered like at night, like late at night, like 11 o'clock, and had them deliver, and they had delivered it by like 10 o'clock the next morning.
Yeah. The next day delivery it was great.
Yeah, kind of freaked me out a little bit. Not gonna lie.
Well, that's a great IKEA section. So I think we covered IKEA really well that section.
yeah, totally. We should probably bill them for the free advertisement.
Yeah, I'm actually on the phone with Mr. IKEA right now, and he said that whatever our rate is, he'll match it. So we're good.
Oh, okay, nice. That's good. Oh man, that's so generous of him.
He's a really nice guy.
Okay.
Swedish, I think.
This is why we don't do podcasts without guests.
Podcasts without guests and unscripted. They get a little off the rails. Okay, so oh man, so much has happened over the past month or so. There's been a lot.
What's big in industry news? Yeah, what's going on?
I don't know. Okay, so if we want to talk about like all the Twitch drama that's been happening recently, like the Dr. Disrespect ban, Mixer shutting down. There's been a lot of stuff in that sphere. So Mixer was a platform, for those of you listening from the distant future, Mixer was a platform that Microsoft intended to be some form of competition to Twitch. They had a lot of integration with their Xbox services, and they had a lot of partner pushes. They actually poached streamers from Twitch, like Ninja and Shroud were the two prominent ones, and a few others. And Microsoft, in a sweeping decision, announced with a bunch of other changes, like they shut down all their retail stores. They're moving a lot of their Windows Store games to Steam, and they also shut down Mixer, which was something that they must have put in an immense amount of money into, north of $1 billion probably, if not more, because Mixer has actually, not a lot of people remember this, but Mixer has actually been around for years It was originally called Beam, Beam, and it was
Oh,
a. You do remember Beam?
I remember hearing it a little like from a little while ago. I didn't know that's what it was.
Yeah, originally the Beam's claim to fame was it had very 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 low delay. They called it like light speed delay. So you could like I could say something on Twitch on a stream right now, and then like less than a second later or whatever the number was, it would get to the viewer, which was a pretty big deal back then because Twitch struggled with delays. You could have anywhere between an 8 second to a 20-second delay on average for a Twitch stream, and for chat
Right.
interaction, that's a pretty big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so Beam's claim to fame was like sub second delay or something ridiculous like that. Unfortunately, Twitch finally got their shit together, and they launched latency mode, which lowers their delay from anywhere between 12 to 20 seconds down to usually 2 to 4 seconds. Like it's pretty low. It's not instantaneous like Beam was, but it's low enough to where it really doesn't matter because nobody's like instantly reading chat anyway, and they're not like, oh my god, new chat message like all the time. Some people do that, but most of the time
Mm.
it's not going to make a difference between 0 seconds and 2 seconds. So their main selling point, which was low latency streaming, got taken out from under them. And what they had after that was a low population, lower viewer base, low streamer platform with what some would describe as a substandard UI.
Mm.
So they really didn't have a lot going for them. When they put in all that money into purchasing all the big streamers, um, they scared Twitch because Twitch went through and negotiated non-compete clauses with a lot of their top streamers. They did exclusivity contracts with people
Mm.
like Dr. Disrespect, so they couldn't leave and go to Mixer or Facebook Gaming, which is also something that we'll talk about in a little bit. Um,
Mm.
so Mixer dying is a really big deal for Twitch. Like they have got to be really really happy about that. But the vacuum, people aren't happy with Twitch. People have not been happy with Twitch for a long time.
Right.
um, there's just all like I'll pause here for discussion, but there's a lot more we can talk about in terms of Twitch, and I don't think we've ever really talked about it on the show before. We've talked a lot about Reddit, we've talked a lot about Riot, but we never talked about Twitch. So we'll get to that. But did you have any
Right.
thoughts on the diatribe that I just said?
No, it's just it's interesting. I think I would be really interested to hear why, like you said, like why they decided to axe it. Not so much like you never want to fall into the idea of like the sunk cost fallacy, right? Like you put so much money into it, why stop? Like there is a reason. I'm wondering what that reason is, right? Like
Yeah.
did Shroud and Ninja just not bring in the viewership, the numbers that they were hoping for, right? Did they realize that it just wasn't a good investment? Like, do they have something else on the horizon? I'd be really interested to hear that, but I mean, obviously, unless we get someone from Microsoft on
Yeah.
air, I don't think we'll ever really know.
So
But
I think you hit the nail on the head partially with that. I don't think Ninja and Shroud were really bringing in groundbreaking numbers that Mixer was looking for. And I don't have the
mm,
analytics for this because obviously they must have been private, but I would not be
mm,
surprised if they did not manage to pull a lot of off-site viewers back to Mixer or over to Mixer in the
mm-hmm,
first place. Um,
mm-hmm,
I'm willing to bet that a large percentage, way more than way more than Mixer was hoping for, viewers who were watching Shroud and Ninja were already on Mixer at the time, and they
yeah,
weren't from offsite because I know, just off of anecdotal data, Ninja had an average viewer base of anywhere between 10 to 50,000 viewers at a time, depending on what he was doing, and that's a large amount for an individual to have. Um,
mm-hmm,
and when he switched to Mixer, I only caught a few of his streams, but it was normally even the one of his streams like directly after he moved, it was only anywhere between 1 to 5,000 viewers, if that,
gotcha.
which is a very large drop, and it's to be expected,
Yeah,
obviously, because Twitch
yeah,
is
yeah.
such a massive platform. I would liken it to like if you were to host all your content on YouTube and then say, okay, I'm done with YouTube. I want to host all my content on like Twitter video or some other platform that's not very popular.
Right.
You're not going to get a lot
Right.
of crossover.
Yeah, I think personally, just the heartbreaking aspect is going to be the people who did actually try to and did start building a following on Mixer. You know what I mean? That community.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if they'll be able to make the jump to Twitch. But honestly, in my mind, I think Microsoft had a really good opportunity to like kind of provide something a little different in the sense of community building and getting people or creating places where people could start making their own mark on the streaming quote unquote uh, industry. I don't know what we would call it, but like, you know, who could have been the next Ninja or Dr. Disrespect on Mixer. You know what I mean?
So it's difficult because in a ecosystem like streaming, they're really, and this is always a dated way to say it because there's always going to be innovations, but there really hi Mochi there really wasn't a lot of innovations that that Mixer had over Twitch. Like what did Mixer do that Twitch didn't do? They had
exactly.
They had a channel points system that Twitch later integrated, and I think they integrated it better. They had sub-second Twitch or stream delay, which Twitch later integrated, and they did okay with that. There really wasn't anything that Mixer was doing differently or better than Twitch. So
right, just fundamentally,
just on like the selling point of the platform would be the creators on the platform, and it's sort of a self-eating worm, like the snake that swallows itself. If you don't have viewers, you aren't going to have creators, and if you don't have creators, you're not going to have viewers. So they did what was the only possible solution to that problem because it's such a saturated market already. They tried to buy viewers, basically. It's like what the Epic Game Store is doing. They're trying to buy users. Epic Games has been successful because they've had a very, very, very large amount of money to put into their store, and they've had a very large amount of people who are willing to go to their store because they're giving away free games, and also Fortnite. Still a very popular game. But Mixer is obviously backed by Microsoft, which is one of, if not the most wealthy companies in the world. But they probably didn't have the full financial support of Microsoft. They probably had a budget, and they probably were massively over budget and massively underperforming for that budget. And
right.
I wouldn't be surprised if William Gates just sat down and said, "I'm sorry, Mixer. It's going to be a no from me," and gave him the X, the big X.
Do you imagine it's kind of like America's Got Talent?
So absolutely.
Microsoft's Got Talent. Do you think they fit
up there? The CEO of Mixer had to get onto a stage and give his pitch as to why Mixer's to stay alive. And they had Bill Gates, Steve Ballmer, and some other Microsoft. That's the only two Microsoft people I know. Major Nelson, the guy from Xbox. They had all three of those guys on the stage, and then if they didn't like the pitch, they just gave them the X, and that's what happened to them. So, if anyone ever asks you what happens to Mixer, just say that they failed America's Got Talent. So that's all that really needs to be said.
Microsoft's Got Talent.
I mean, there's any number of reasons why Mixer wasn't successful. I think we probably covered most of them, but I'd like to talk about the rumblings of a new competition for Twitch, because there have been several rumors appearing that Spotify was going to launch a streaming service, that Facebook obviously already has their streaming service and they are promoting it heavily. That's something we didn't mention. All of the Mixer partners that were on Mixer got invited to join Facebook Gaming, which is an even more unpopular platform than Mixer was.
Right.
So what happened was, I think Facebook probably put however many millions of dollars, and they said, hey, your platform's dying. We're going to pay you to take all these creators off your hand. And That way you have somewhere to put these people. Because if you say Mixer's shutting down, everyone just moved to Twitch, nobody's gonna be happy about that. That's what everyone did. Like everyone moved to Twitch. nobody actually moved to Facebook gaming, but they didn't want to have to say that. So I don't know what Facebook is doing, but they're pushing their platform really, really hard.
I got you. I don't know. I think you said it really well. Like, what are people doing differently that Twitch can't already provide or doesn't already provide? And I think the other thing to also be said is potentially there is someone or some company that can just be a better Twitch. Like you were alluding to it, that there is some people, like a large portion of the user base is unhappy with Twitch.
Yeah.
Because of various reasons. Well, like if for instance Spotify or YouTube Gaming or even Facebook, like eventually they're like, look, let's just be better than Twitch at what they're doing, right? Like that's one way to compete. But really, my question would be, what are the benefits to using these other platforms? Again, fundamentally, that's different.
Yeah.
From Twitch.
And that's what's so surprising to me. You mentioned YouTube Gaming. I think YouTube, on a technical level, is miles ahead of Twitch and always has been. Their streaming service is much easier to set up. The encoding settings are way more accessible. The viewer player itself is just miles ahead of Twitch. You have the ability to pause a stream live and unpause it and return to where you were instead of just going back to live. You can rewind, watch any part of the VOD you want. It's just such a better technical platform than Twitch, which is disappointing because it's Google, it's YouTube. They've had the market share, they've had the features, they've had the technical advantages, but they still have no real competition for Twitch. And I think this might be changing over the past few months because I know a lot of esport events are now shifting their focus towards YouTube gaming. I don't know if you know this, but Hearthstone is now doing their tournaments exclusively on YouTube Gaming, I believe, on YouTube Live, whatever it's called now. And the Riot Games Twitch channel, or the Riot Games live stream service that streams LCS, LCK, and LEC, they're pulling in more viewers on YouTube now than they were on Twitch. They still stream on both, but if you go to Twitch on LCS, they'll have anywhere between 70,000 to 150,000 viewers, and you're like, man, Twitch is really, or LCS is really not doing well. But then you go over to YouTube and you realize that there's another 150,000 to 200,000 people watching on YouTube, and you're like, oh wait,
I wonder if it has just something to do with the accessibility of YouTube. Like maybe that's where like that's gonna be the straw that breaks the camel's back, right? Like maybe that might not be the right metaphor, but basically it's like YouTube's accessibility and like international accessibility versus maybe Twitch's like very specific market might actually be the breaker, the game changer.
That's really interesting that you bring up the international market, because I don't believe that Twitch really does have a presence in Asia, in China, South Korea, Japan. I believe that a lot of those markets are dominated by Chinese sites or Asian sites where
they have their own services.
Yeah, like Azure TV, Azubi TV, or something like that. And they're massive, and that's just because the Chinese market is massive.
The population,
like, it is just a huge, and the culture over there is different too. And it's shifting, but they've been a lot more accepting of like video games as a competitive sport than the United States has historically.
That's also another thing too, is like YouTube is still used in those countries, right? Like just so that like maybe that's where, if there is, in my mind, if there is an easy, because like for instance for you, right, or for Dev Dive, you've started clipping the show into little clips and then putting them out on YouTube. If you were on YouTube Gaming, if it was a streaming platform on YouTube, like would that be even easier to be able to do that? You know what I mean? Like the accessibility and the versatility of your content and how much you can do with it that might also be another really big factor, because with Twitch, I'm just literally playing and streaming. But if I want to go through and actually have more versatility in how I display or how I
So
manipulate my content,
I know,
you know what I mean?
I know exactly where you're coming from, and I think it's hilarious because Twitch actually does have features in place for highlighting videos, and they have all the same features in place that YouTube has, but nobody uses it. Not a single
Right.
person I know has ever used Twitch as a video platform. I have no idea
Well, I mean,
why. It's
yeah,
there's
I think
it's
that's. Oh, go ahead.
it's just I don't know if it's the lack of discoverability, the the
Mm-hmm.
the ingrained human nature that people have to just use YouTube because it's easier.
Right,
I
right,
don't know why, but Twitch has put a lot of effort and money into developing these video tools,
right,
and they're not terrible. They're not great, but they're not terrible. But nobody uses
right.
them.
Well, that's actually, so the more I'm thinking about this, that's an interesting concept, because think about the Vivi might give me a dirty look here in a second because I might use a term or idea incorrectly. But think about like the flow of someone using uh, YouTube and Twitch to do like something, right? So if you approach it from, I'm a user, I'm going to go to Twitch, I'm going to watch my streamer, right?
Mhm.
And then I'm going to like, but I go to Twitch and I look at the streamers, right? Like there's that idea of, I already know what I'm looking for and I'm going to go to this site that I know that they're at.
Yeah.
Versus what YouTube or what people could potentially use YouTube for is, people just browse YouTube for random ass videos, right? Like you just like, they throw videos at you according to an algorithm and whatnot. So for a content creator, maybe on YouTube, like what they want to do is, I want to have discoverability first, so I make all these videos that funnel them into my channel, that then they can come back and view my content.
Yeah.
Um, Slightly different and it is nuanced, but I wonder if that's why, because people don't think of Twitch as a video service or a,
Mhm.
to watch random thing. They go to watch a streamer, whereas people go to YouTube and they find videos of streamers that then funnels them into the content site.
And it's I want to talk about both sides of that because I think you are really correct. And
Mm-hmm.
there's two really weird aspects to this argument because Twitch does have a lot of popular videos. They're called
Mm-hmm.
clips and they're they're really advertised through subreddits like Livestream Fail, all
Mm-hmm.
the YouTube channels that just re-upload clips in compilations, which I personally don't
Sure.
really like, but I know that they're
Mm-hmm.
wildly popular.
Mm-hmm.
And they're these clips are a huge source of traffic for Twitch. But nobody goes to Twitch to look at clips usually. Like you're not going on Twitch and saying
Right.
like, "Man, where can I find a good clip?" You're going to a third-party site to find a clip on the first-party site. And I don't know
Right.
if Twitch has really put a lot of thought into that, but
Yeah.
they I don't there's no way to really, and there is a way, but it's not great. There's no way to look on Twitch and be like, "I want to look at funny clips." If you
Mm-hmm.
want to look at funny clips from Twitch, you're going to go to
Yeah.
Reddit, you're going to go to Facebook,
Right.
you're going to go to YouTube, Twitter, whatever.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. I don't know.
yeah.
It'd be interesting. I mean, now, I mean, I'm actually very interested to, just by talking, I'm very interested to check out the YouTube gaming uh
Yeah,
as
actually
a
let's
YouTube gaming as a thing.
we never do this, but let's do a live look for the people who are watching the video portion of this podcast and for the people who aren't. I apologize. I'll try to describe it. We're going to go to
Yeah.
live to YouTube Live and see what comes up, see what the thing is. There are 12 million people subscribed to YouTube Live, and the top streams right now are 24,000 people watching a Fortnite streamer. So that's a pretty large
Okay.
amount of people.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
I don't even know what this is. It's a 24-hour live stream of a TV series, I think. I'm not sure what that is. NBC
Interesting.
News, 8,000 people watching that.
Oh, I wonder what's going on.
Rainbow Six tournament looks like
Okay.
6,000 people watching that. So they have a viewer base. but it doesn't seem to be massive. But
Well,
it
I
looks.
also think Oh, go ahead.
I think it looks too similar to what regular YouTube is. Maybe that's the problem.
Yeah. Well, like that. Yes, definitely. I think that, like, again, Twitch has cornered the market. It is the streaming platform, and when you go to Twitch, you go, like, there are people who are streaming all sorts of games and all sorts of titles and all sorts of genres, and that's what it is. That's what it's specifically um, promoting, right? Like it is designed to be able to get you uh, through that
Yeah.
process of selecting a streamer or selecting even just a genre that you want to check out. Whereas YouTube is set up very differently. So I'm again, I'm just wondering what's going to be
We should
what's going to be the winner one way or the other.
have either Vivi or my friend Julie on, UX designers on, sometime.
They both know each other, right?
Yeah, maybe we could have a dual guest one, but we should talk about
It'd be really funny to have them
user
both on. Yeah,
experience, because I think user
actually,
experience is a very not well. I mean, maybe you understand it better because you're married to Vivi, but from the
yeah.
layperson's experience, I don't think a lot of people really understand like
Oh, dude.
what that means.
We should get Chris on here if we want to focus on, like, maybe the history
I don't
or
think I know
the high
Chris.
level. Chris Dame, Tastiest Robot.
Oh,
You've played.
him.
Yeah,
Yeah, from
yeah.
the
He's
server.
like he's been in UX. Vivi, how long has he been in UX?
A while.
Yeah, he's yeah. It's been for a long time, and honestly, because I heard Vivi and Chris talk about this too. Like, honestly, the discipline, the field of UX has is not it's how do I want to put it? Because I want to phrase it properly. The idea of user experience has been around, right? Like, people
Yeah.
design things so people can use them, right? But to have it as like an identified discipline, right? Like something that is coalesced and has a specific, you know, uh, like career path and like goals and understanding of that. It's not super old. It's not like, it's not been around forever in that sense. Kind of like how, like, 3D animation, like,
Yeah.
animation's been around forever, but like 3D animation was actually very programming focused first and foremost, and then it became more of an art form, like, as it progressed as a discipline. Same idea. UX has been around. It's just like it's been evolving and
It's more
growing.
focused now than it's ever been, I think.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And I think a lot
yeah.
more companies are looking for that person now too. It seems like there's been a lot more, and I don't know. This could be not recency bias. What's the bias where you have seen it a lot more, so you think it's more prominent, even if it's not?
Confirmation bias.
Confirmation, is that one? Okay.
It's what, like, so you have an idea, or you have a
Oh
hypothesis,
yeah.
and you go and look for it, and the first answer you find, like, verifies that. That's confirmation bias. You're just looking for the things that verify your your premise.
Yeah. I'm not sure if that's exactly what I'm trying to say, but yeah,
Yeah.
I think maybe because I've been immersed in with more people who are from that discipline, it does seem like it's been more of a focus over the past decade or so than it has been previously. That's interesting.
I think what you maybe again, like, the idea of user experience has been around for a while. Vivi was just telling me a lot of people consider Walt Disney to be one of the first actual UX designers, because if you look at his philosophies and how he approached what he was making, it was very user focused, which is one of the hallmarks of user
Yeah,
user experience design.
If we wanted to go more contemporary, obviously Apple has a lot of people focused on user experience.
Yes, exactly.
And they have a very tight and a very defined way of doing things. Like Apple products will always have the similarity of they're very simple to use, they're very easy to understand, and that experience trumps functionality, power, and price. So, and it's worked out for them because they're the most rich company in the world, but
I'll
that is
say
their
ups and
philosophy.
like ups and downs, right?
Ups and downs. Yeah.
And for for people who we keep saying experience design, and I think it would be a great thing to have Chris or VV or Julie on to talk us a little more through it, like from an actual user experience design perspective. But the thing that I've always thought of was if have you ever been to a Japanese site, like a Japanese company's site?
Not really, no.
Okay, it is hellish to go through. Like it is. I like open it up and because and I'm going like I have no idea what's going on. I have no idea how to look for the things that I'm going through. The things that I do think are supposed to be there are not, right? Like it's this whole idea of like you cannot. It's not easy to use, so usability, right? Another aspect that I always like bringing up is and what people don't realize is they did studies back, I don't know, in like the 90s of websites or early 2000s of websites. And they go, on average, if someone had to wait more than 2 seconds for a website to load, they would actually just leave.
Oh yeah. No, that's
right.
That's a study that's been mirrored in a lot of other fields. Like I know that they had studies for like loading times for videos and stuff, where if your video wouldn't load within 10 seconds, you would just stop. They would stop looking for that video.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So those elements, those are little bits. Those are little elements of what a UX designer would potentially bring and look at from that angle, to make your product, to make your process, to make your what was the other word I was looking for? Your thing just better, more in line with what you're actually trying to get done. So
yeah.
and again, there's a lot that Vivi could probably talk because every now and again I try my best, and she's like close, but no.
Yeah, it's something that because user experience is such a like everyone knows what a bad user experience is, but they can't point out why it's bad, or they can't use it like I'll go into a game
that's a good point.
or a site and I'll be like, I can't do this site. I do that with and some of the time it's because I don't like change. Like I'll use an example. I'm on Reddit quite a bit, but I don't like the new design that they've put out for Reddit. So I use old Reddit, which is basically just the Reddit that's been around for 10 or so years. I don't know if it's bad design or if it's just something I'm not used to, but I do know that I don't like it, and I personally don't want to use it. So I would say that it's bad user experience, I guess. I don't know.
So, sort of, because there's also the idea of change a version. Like you could just have change a version, and that over time you're gonna actually go, oh, this isn't that bad, and then you're gonna go, actually, this is pretty easy to use, right? Or it could be like, no, I don't like it because this is awful to use, and it doesn't matter that it's changed or not, it's just bad.
Yeah.
So
I think I've gotten worse with change of version over the years. I used to be very so this is an old example for me, at least. Back in like 2008 or so, when I first joined Facebook, I was always really excited for when Facebook updated because I was like, man, it's all new and cool. And now I hate it when sites update. I hate it when they change something. Twitch has done this, and we'll circle back to Twitch because I did want to talk more about why I don't like Twitch. But Twitch has done a UI refresh like 4 times over the past couple of years, and each one has just been really obnoxious to use. They've removed lots of features such as seeing who somebody's following, seeing who your followers are. I don't even think you could do that anymore. Seeing just so many features that they've decided to get rid of. I don't know why. I probably know why they got rid of seeing who people follow, and I think it was because people were using it to harass other people, saying like, hey, you follow 10 Fortnite streamers or 10 whatever streamers, loser, or something like that. But it's still a frustrating feature to lose over something that probably wasn't going to be enforceable anyway. Like, you're not going to stop people from making fun of other people just because you don't see what streamers they follow now. I don't know. I think we should wrap up the user experience discussion because I don't know what I'm talking about. And I feel like anyone listening to the show, anyone listening to the show who knows what they're talking about or knows what what I should be talking about is probably just really frustrated with what I'm saying.
Rolling their eyes hardcore. Yeah, let's make a note of that and have Chris, Vivi, or Julie on the show.
Yeah, I'll try to organize something. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about Twitch then, because Twitch, and primarily we'll start from the front because this is a big one, and this is something that people have been complaining about Twitch for years, but it's just come to light that it's like actually a pretty big deal and it's pretty true. Twitch has had an ongoing issue for many years of nepotism and unequal moderation from their Twitch staff. Twitch staff have been accused of giving favors to people that they like, banning users that they don't like, partnering people who didn't really meet the partnership requirements because they wanted something from them or they wanted to impress them or something. And this is
quid pro quo stuff, huh?
Yeah, quid pro quo. I messed that up, but that's been something that's really been floating around, little rumors in the ecosystem for many years. As long as Twitch has been around, people have been accusing them of this. Very recently, one of the most notorious people at Twitch, Hassan something. Let me pull up his name actually. I don't want to mess it up. Hassan Twitch. There's somebody named Hassan. That is a confusing name. Okay, so Hassan Bukhari, who is a accounts director and strategic partnership manager at Twitch, one of the very longest people that have been on the site. He has been accused of trading partnerships and moderation and some terrible other stuff for sexual favors and sexual relationships with many women on the platform. And people are coming out now and saying that he was taking nude photographs from these women that he was receiving them from and sharing them with his friends, either on Twitch or on third-party sites. And many people come out and corroborated these claims. So it seems that the rumors that Twitch has been engaged in a lot of this stuff is accurate. And the kicker is that this news has been out for over a week now, and they have not released a public statement. They haven't removed Hassan from Twitch staff, at least publicly yet. He's still listed as a member of the staff. And there has been no real changes based on what has been said. They have updated their terms of service to cover a lot more of these allegations that have been coming out. And they have started banning people who are confirmed of these allegations, like a few partners, probably most notably the person behind the Bless RNG emote, which is now gone. He's gone from the platform. His emote's gone. He's wiped away because he was confirmed to be a sexual assault proprietor. So they're taking stances against the partners, which is good. That's fantastic. They absolutely should. But they haven't taken an action against one of the people in their own system. So it's very troubling for a lot of the partners who are afraid that they're going to be acted against because they're speaking out against this. So they're afraid that because of the people who are already ingrained in the Twitch hierarchy, that they're not going to be taken out and held accountable for their actions, that they're going to harbor resentment towards these people who have spoken out against them, who have come out and shared their stories. So
the technical or legal term is retaliation.
Retaliation, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting because Twitch as a platform has been, obviously, it's very incredibly popular. It is one of the top traffic sites in the world, behind like Reddit, Facebook, Google, Twitter, all those other YouTube, all the other major sites. It's up there though, and it has been on a meteoric rise. Twitch has been growing at an astounding level over the past few years. In the mainstream, video game streaming in general has been skyrocketing over the past 5 to 10 years. Like 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, nobody would know if you just asked a single person at like on the street or at Walmart, like, oh, what's your favorite YouTube or Twitch streamer or something, your game streamer, they were not going to know a single thing. But now they'll say like, oh, I really like Ninja, or I like Dr. Disrespect, or so and so. These people are now in the public consciousness. So this is a widely accepted and known about industry now, and it's being facilitated over by people who are not who are hypocritical. I'm just going to say that they're not evenly enforcing their terms of service. So that was a bit of a rant on why Twitch is a platform that a lot of people have had issues with. But this is this the opportunity? I don't know what you think, because maybe I'm too close to the issue. Do you think this is an opportunity for another site to come out and say like, hey, we're fixing these problems, come to our platform?
No.
No?
But that's very cynical. That's very cynical of me. Let me think of how to. So the idea or the point is, with this one particular person being a prominent figure in the Twitch organization, of being not like currently being accused of and having some very strong evidence towards him being basically acting illegally, because everything that you just like, all the stuff that you said that he's accused of is illegal, right? Just flat out. Is this the time for another studio or another platform to use to usurp Twitch's base? No, not at all. Like that's not gonna happen. Mostly because as a service, it is still providing the things that it needs to do, and on top of that, if this has been known, if this was a rumor or like kind of one of those like, oh yeah, that like everyone knows about it but no one does anything about it. If that wasn't enough to get people off the platform, that's not going to change now that someone's confirmed it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can see that.
So,
and I think the only chance that it would have is if creators do take a stand against it and mass migrate off the platform.
Yes.
Yes. But
that would basically be the capitalistic capitalistic way.
That'd be the
right?
voting
like,
with your wallet of that situation, because the viewers aren't going to leave if the creators are still there. But if the creators leave, there's a chance that the viewers will leave too. I don't know.
Yeah. So it's there's a lot to like unpack, or there's a lot you could unpack with that, but yeah, like that it's an opportunity for Twitch to repair trust, right? Like there's a lot of trust that's just been slowly eroding, and that's why it's always important to put people in those positions and to set up a good strong I hate saying the word culture, but that's a good like a strong culture of these. It's very similar to how with some of the political stuff going around about police brutality and the way the cops act, like holding them to a higher standard, expecting them to be held to a higher standard. Same idea, right? Like if you have power, if you exert any sort of control over someone's ability to do what they want to do in a space that they want to do it in, then you have to be very responsible with that. And it sounds like Twitch has not been again, like I don't know, I haven't researched this, but just from your point of view, from what you know and what you've told me, it just sounds like they haven't been very responsible with it. So
and this is an interesting point, because the parallel that you brought across with the political movements based on police brutality, I wonder if that was an ignition point for more of these stories to come out, more of these stories of people abusing their power over others and abusing their positions to give them either sexual favors or financial favors or something like that, or even just a feeling of power. Do you think we're seeing more of these stories coming out because of the current culture that is being celebrated, like the finally coming and striking back against the oppressors? I don't know if that's the best way to say it, but
I think it's mostly because, well, okay, I'm gonna throw something that's really high level, right?
Yeah,
like,
and okay, so let's
super...
preface with whatever we say that we're both just two guys sitting in our rooms talking about stuff.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
We don't know,
right? Like,
we aren't
shit,
experts in all of this
right?
stuff.
Like,
This is just our
right.
conjecture.
Well, I mean, we're two heterosexual, primarily white men.
Mhm.
So like this is again, like you said, we're just two dudes who haven't really had to deal with a lot of these issues, talking about it from our perspectives.
Mhm.
So for me, going back, like taking even a much wider stance of the world situation, I firmly believe that the world has always been fucked up. Like humanity, humans, society, culture, there is some hellish things that have gone on, at all periods of time. But the difference between now and 100 years ago is how easily accessible and shareable
Mhm.
that information is. Like, if something happened in a town that was horrendous and horrific, everyone in that town would know. Maybe the next town over, like a little, like a bubble out, would know. And if it was bad enough, maybe the state would know.
Mhm.
But that would all take time, and that would all, like, it would have to go through the grapevine and all these things. um and that does affect kind of the wave or the impact of that news. Now though, if something hellish happens and someone takes a video of it and puts it online, everyone in the world knows instantly.
Instantaneously, yeah, right away.
Exactly. So that's a concept that I'm building this idea off of. I think what we're seeing is that before, it was hard to organize, it was hard to support, it was hard to really get the ball going, because one person in one part of the city, one person in another part of the world, saying like, these people have abused their power, these people have done reprehensible things, and they would have a close or a small ground swelling. But unfortunately, it wasn't enough support to really, drive that kind of cultural and societal change. Now, though, you get someone who's saying, this person did something fucked up, I want to hold them accountable. And then you start having other people starting to join in and say, yes, I support, or I confirm, or I also was a part of this. And now being able to get that groundswelling and get that momentum much easier now. So I think that's what we're seeing now, is that one of and another concept is like, technology is a tool. You can use it for great good, you could use it for great evil, or you can just use it for stupid shit. And I think we're starting to see one of those benefits of technology really coming through, and we can see how it directly impacts, like immediately, our current understanding of topics in the world.
And I'd be interested to see, and this is the weirdest thing that strikes me about gathering data and coming to conclusions based on that data, is there's no real way to look at these from an alternative point of view. You can always say, like, what if this happened when we weren't in a global health pandemic? What if this didn't happen when everyone was stuck inside for 6 months and frustrated and upset? What if this didn't happen during a time of cultural unrest because of the current political hierarchy? Like, is this just a perfect storm of events that's happening to make people come to these conclusions, or would this happen regardless? Like, would these things unfold regardless of current situations? And there's no way to really say yes or no definitively. Like you can say,
Oh, sure.
oh, obviously if
You
so
could,
and so wasn't in charge,
yeah,
then this country would be so much greater.
hypotheses and
Yeah.
stuff like totally. And just a shameless plug. Remember, data like data, just like anything else, it's just points of information. Depending on how it's presented and depending on how it's used, can paint very different pictures.
Yeah.
So,
Wait, what's that a shameless plug for?
just shameless plug of remember not to take everything at face value.
No, okay. I thought you were gonna like say like, so come join us on Thursday for my data show. Oh man,
But
yeah, we tangented pretty hard, but I don't know. I felt like it was a pretty good discussion.
Oh yeah, totally. It's always interesting. Again, I'm not as plugged in.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I'm trying to figure out a good way to resolve. I'm not as plugged in, and I don't really keep up with news like that as much as I should.
I don't know. I
But
think
I
maybe you
also,
have. I think you're in an advantage because you have an untainted opinion. You have.
oh,
You're not. You're well, untainted from that perspective because you're not.
oh
You're
yeah,
not.
sure, yeah,
And you don't like. I don't think it's healthy to have all of this stuff coming into your head
separation.
24/7. Like,
Yeah.
and I, we can talk about this a little bit if you'd like. I think that the constant barrage of negative news and negative stories, literally 24/7, has really put people in a, like you said, you now are aware if something terrible happens anywhere in the world, regardless of if it's on the upswing or not, because we're in an age where connectivity is instant. I think that it could be a bit of a negative feedback loop where you hear about all these terrible things that are happening, which causes you to be more aware of all the terrible things that are happening, which causes more terrible things to happen. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it just goes to the catch-22 print the idea you were going through. I don't know if it causes more terrible things to happen. I couldn't agree with that, but being aware of terrible things and then that leading, especially with the way where a lot of like search algorithms and entertainment algorithms, right? Like you start finding one thing and then it'll surface more and more and more. Same idea, right? It's easy to focus on the bad, and most of the time people will focus on the bad things that happen. Very rarely do you have someone who like very rarely will you sit there and think about your day and go, today was, a great day because I picked a flower in the yard, right? Like, but, or you could have a week. Think of it this way. You actually, here's a really good way of thinking of it. Think about your week, right? When I ask you, how was your week? How did your week go? What's your response? You don't have to tell me, right? What's your response? In my mind, I go, yeah, it was all right. And then I start talking about what pissed me off or what went wrong, right? That's the first thing I talk about, because really naturally, for me, I want to be happy. So that's my natural like state that I want to be in. So I don't talk about the things that actually make me happy. I talk about the things that are keeping me from being in the state that I want to be in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know what my answer would be. I think maybe because I'm in sort of a weird life period where I'm sort of just existing. Like I'm working on things. I'm working on things at work, I'm working on things at home, but I feel like I'm not really progressing anywhere right now. And I think it might be a feeling because I've just been in this space for so long that I'm just sick of it, and I'm just like, okay, I want to go back to the office. I want to go back to outside. I don't know.
Sure.
That's interesting. If you had asked me that question a year ago, I don't know if my answer would be different, but I'm not sure.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. People, like, your life changes, right? Things go through phases and things like that. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just that idea of make it at the forefront, right? Like, yes, there are some terrible things going on, and it is just justifiable to be concerned and to really have that weigh on you, right? Like that, yes. It is also good and healthy to go and try and find the good things that are happening, right? It's kind of a mindset. So that would be my plug. Don't always and wow, there's like so many things going on in my head that I would have to try and distill down, but it's like, yeah, bad things happen, and it's good to feel like, it's good to understand the weight of those things. The flip side to that is also, uh you are always your harshest critic, and everyone, think of it as everyone, or you will see everyone's highlight reel, right? That's what you're seeing, and you're the one who sees your own blooper reel. You know what I mean? Everyone has a blooper reel. Their whole life is a blooper reel.
That's something that I've always had a hard time. Not so much the everyone else is perfect and I'm terrible thing, although I think everyone struggles with that a little bit. But I've had problems with not separating experiences. Like I'll have, like, just for a light example, I'll have like a funny story or a funny joke that I'll tell, and I'll be like, hey, that was a funny joke, and I'll tell the joke to one group of friends, and I'll be like, okay, that's done. Like, I wouldn't go and say, like, tell it to another group of friends or tell it to another person, or share it in the office, because in my mind, like, I don't want to be like the guy who repeats the same joke all the time. But for those people, they're like, they never even heard the joke, or they never even heard this story, but it's still in my brain that I don't want to be the person who's just like saying the same thing over and over and over again. It's hard for me to remember, and maybe it's because I am just in connected to so many different circles of people, like not every on the same level of it for every person, but I have a large group of acquaintances and a small group of friend groups, and it's hard for me to differentiate between all of those different people. And like, in my mind, I want to categorize and be like, did I act like this with these people before? Did I act like this with these people before? Like, how do I, what is my personality over here? What is my personality over there? I don't know. It's a struggle.
Okay.
I think I got off track.
But it's okay. I mean, I think we've been a little off. Yes, the world's fucked up. Everything's on fire, but that doesn't mean there aren't people out there that aren't trying to put it out.
Yeah.
So, good and bad, right?
Good and bad. Let's see. I don't think I have much written down. I wanted to talk more about YouTube's discoverability, because we were talking about it a little bit. I think, and this could again just be confirmation bias, but I think that YouTube, over the past 4 years ish, has almost entirely perfected their recommendation algorithm to make it so that to maximize watch time and to maximize like interesting content,
engagement.
Yeah. So 4 years ago, I would never go on YouTube and click on a related video. I would never open up the website, look at a video, and just say like, oh, that looks interesting, and click on that one. The only way I'd go to YouTube is I would be directed from a third-party site like Reddit or use Facebook or whatever, and watch that video. Or I would watch a subscription video where I would be subscribed to somebody and watch their video. I would never use the recommended service. Now, I get so much content from the recommended service that it's surpassed all other forms of content direction. Like, I am receiving more content from the recommendation that I'm interested in and want to watch than I've ever had before. And I don't know if that's confirmation bias, where like, hey, it's just me who is more interested now, or if they have gotten so good at it that it is just globally gone up. Do you have a similar experience?
I would say yes. I think their algorithm is better. I think they've spent a lot of time and applied a lot of their kind of R&D and brain power to perfecting that. Because if you think of Google search, and applying it to a video to get you the things that will drive engagement and clicks, right? Like that is something that I agree that they have gotten better at. I would say that I don't think I had the same path as quite kind of what you were describing, because I was never really big into YouTube, right? Like I would watch videos and I would see things, but when it came to content, I was always watching like, TV or Netflix or,
Okay.
something more long form. And then the short form, I've only started to really get an appreciation for. But even now, like YouTube videos, the ones that I normally watch, are about the length of an episode of TV.
Yeah, no, I'm actually in the
Either,
same boat. I really
yeah,
enjoy like the 20 to 40 to 50 minute videos. Like that is
yeah,
what, and YouTube like knows this, and it's sending me
yeah,
these videos that are like 30 to
exactly.
50 minutes long. It's weird.
And it's funny because I'm like, it either has to be pretty short, right? So it's either a couple seconds, or 5 minutes, 15 minutes, or like 20 to 30 minutes for me to like, that's kind of the pairing for me, my ideal or optimal like viewing time, whatever. But the other thing too is um the like just the sheer breadth of content. I think it was just natural. It was only natural for them to develop algorithms and processes and automated ways to surface content, because how many thousands of hours or hundreds of hours of videos are uploaded every minute to
Yeah,
YouTube?
it's
How
more
would
than
you
it's ever
even
been. Yeah,
yeah, like how would you even ever possibly start to sort any of that out, right? Like so it's just, yeah. I agree. I think the dangerous aspect is that the algorithm is there to keep you engaged. It's not there to surface content that might be good or
yeah,
beneficial or whatever. That's not its primary purpose. It's there to just keep you engaged, which can be dangerous.
yeah. And I think there's been way more intelligent people talking about this than us, but there's been just some discussions about how what is YouTube's responsibility, or what is any site's responsibility to um they call it fostering extremism or something,
Mm-hmm.
where
Mm-hmm.
where if you start looking at a viewpoint on YouTube, I'm not going to get into any specific viewpoints because everyone has their different viewpoints,
A
but
viewpoint, right? Yeah.
a viewpoint, you will are more likely to be recommended things of that viewpoint. And the more
Yeah.
viewpoints, or the more of that viewpoint you consume, the
Yep.
more extreme you will become about that viewpoint. And it will start
That.
recommending more and more
Yeah.
extreme versions of that, where you'll start with like, hey, I like this. Do you like this? And it'll end with like, everyone who doesn't like this is an enemy of the world and deserves to die, or something like that.
That is what you call confirmation bias.
Yeah.
That's what you've
But
described,
it's,
right?
man, we have this episode should just be titled confirmation bias. But it's
Yeah.
interesting because there have been like, what is YouTube's responsibility? Do they have a responsibility? Like, how are they going to combat
Oh,
this type
well,
of issue?
yeah. Well, I mean that goes back to again. I don't think YouTube. It would be an interesting change to see, but like for me, I think it goes. It's not one any particular one company's responsibility. I honestly like blame a lot of factors, but our education system in the U.S. The like, and then some of the societal practices that we have, like the I was taught, thankfully, right, um, to be skeptical, and then to also look through, like how do I want to put it, like look from, like put the shoe on the put yourself in their shoes, like look through the argument from both ways. Don't just accept one side as as the answer. Like do your own research and think about it.
Mhm.
So some of the things that I'll do, that when I find I'm like, yeah, I really agree with this, I really agree with this, I will purposely go out of my way to find articles that completely disagree with it, so that I can have a good balance and to make
Yeah,
my mind up thoroughly. So, but
that's a
that's a Yeah.
That sounds really hard.
It is. It's very hard because you have to open up to yourself to possibly being wrong, which is a completely other topic that I could go off on. But it's okay to be wrong because it's not saying that you're a dumb person. It's not saying you're a bad person. It's saying you are operating off of incomplete information. That's all that means.
The thing that it's not even that from me. I think it's more difficult for me to be in a position where I want to purposely disprove something that I think is correct, because I fall into I'm a very skeptical person in general, skeptical and cynical, which is something I've been trying to work on. But I have a problem with, I don't know if this is the correct word. I always root for the underdog. So for the issue I have, yeah, I guess that's a bias. The issue I have is where if I see any situation, regardless of the viewpoint, where a very large group of people is hating on a small group of people, that I'll be like,
sure.
Come on, leave the small group of people alone. Or like
even when they're Nazis.
Well, okay, let's not get into that.
All right, so there's this. All right, we figured out the extreme ends. Okay, good. Okay, all right, we're on track. Okay,
I'm talking more along the lines of like the Okay, I'll try to find it. I'll try to think of a specific example that's not like too extreme. Okay, yeah, this is a great example because it ties back into League of Legends. I love watching esports, but the problem I have is like I'll watch like TSM versus Dignitas, and I like TSM, and I don't really have any strong feelings about Dignitas. But when TSM's like beating up Dignitas in the game, I'll be like, I'm kind of rooting for Dignitas. I'm kind of being like, oh, maybe I want Dig to come back and win. And that philosophy applies to a lot of things for me. And I don't think it's necessarily a good thing because, like, obviously some views are, like you said, some views are in the minority because they're just terrible views.
For a reason,
Yeah, for a reason. But it's hard for me to disassociate the mob mentality that I've seen from the majority of the people who I see. Like, and maybe that's because of my background on sites like Reddit, where the mob mentality is so often wrong. Objectively wrong, not just like I think it's wrong. Objectively, these people are trying to ruin somebody's life over a false piece of information. So I don't know. That's probably where my bias comes from.
Well, I mean, that's what you described, that underdog feeling. That's an actual phenomenon. That's not like that. Yes, people want to root for the underdog because very often people think of themselves as the underdog. Right, so they want to root for like that there's studies done on that. Very interesting. I would say that, and I also agree, humans are stupid, and Vivi gets mad at me sometimes whenever I say that. I'm like, humanity, we're fucking dumb. We're dumb as shit.
That's true.
People can be smart. People can make good choices. Individuals can make good choices, but mob mentality, herd mentality is a thing, and it's very dangerous. But that's where it goes back to that idea of practicing good mental discipline. And I struggle with it sometimes too, right? Practicing good mental discipline to recognize when you do start falling into your biases, when you start leaning on those, and to pull yourself out by doing that simple, okay, I agree with this point. I feel very strongly about this point. There's two ways to go about it. One, I want to make sure that my argument is fucking airtight. So I'm going to go and research what the opposite side would potentially come at me with, so that I have a good understanding of where they're coming from. Or two, I want to make sure that my ideas or my acceptance of this is actually good and complete. Like I have thought this through. It is, I haven't missed something.
Yeah.
So it is difficult. It's very hard.
I wanted to interject because I had something that I just thought of that I thought kind of adds to that, or adds to what I was saying earlier. something that I really, really frustrates me is when people cherry pick information that supports their argument. Like for a specific example, without getting too specific, like if you see a news story on a website, and it doesn't have to be a biased website, just any website that is credible, and you're like, man, I'm so sick of these people doing that thing, and you share that news thing, and you're like, can you believe that all of these people believe this? Pathetic, or something like that. It really frustrates me when I see that, and it happens on all sides of any argument. You're going to see this anywhere, and it's really frustrating because I know that both sides do it, and all sides do it, but it frustrates me more for one side than the other. Like I'll see it's going back to the other underdog thing again. Like I'll see it from both sides, obviously, but I'll also be like, oh yeah, those guys deserve that. Those guys deserve the cherry picking because they're the ones who do it more often, or something like that. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I get you. It's hard. Well, again, that's mostly because of upbringing and experience and whatnot. Like, I've been very lucky. My father was very adamant about me thinking like make up your own mind. Like just because, like, and he said this, just because I tell you something, just because your grandmother tells you something, she raised me. Just because anyone tells you, any authority figure tells you something, don't just blindly accept it, right? Like actually think about it, think it through, come up to your own decision, because he's from, he's country, so he holds true to that idea of if you don't stand for anything, you'll fall for everything. Right. And that's where his mentality was, like, know what your morals are, know what you stand for, know what you believe. Right. And then make sure that you actually believe them and that they're good. Right. Like there's this whole thing like to build off of that. But for me, it's very much, I've been lucky. I've been lucky to have people, namely Vivi, to point out whenever I have or am acting off of my biases, like, because everyone has them. Everyone is biased in some sort of way, right? There's multiple ways. There's multiple biases or biases, whatever. But it's okay. That's all right. It's just you need to understand when they're kicking in and how to combat them, right? Like that's really the big thing. So I can't say I empathize, but I do sympathize.
This went to a psychological point, I think. I don't know. It was an interesting discussion. It reminds me a little bit of the conversations that we have when I get drunk and I call you.
Dude, our physical, metaphysical,
our universal
quantum
mechanics. Yeah.
Man, that would be a fucking podcast right there.
Oh man, I don't know if I want to have that publicized. I still fully hold on to my opinions, by the way.
Hey man, that's okay. That's all right.
Oh, man, did we have anything we wanted specifically? I think we talked about a lot. I don't know. The problem with this show, and I'll reiterate in case you have just tuned in for some reason, we were gonna have my friend on for an episode tonight, but he wasn't able to make it. So we sort of just like said like, hey, do we want to have a show still? And Larry's like, yeah, why not? So we're just sort of like talking, which is fine. It's good to have a filler episode every now and then.
I will say though that I have to get ready for dinner.
Okay, we'll wrap it up.
Yeah.
All right. If you enjoyed this episode of Dev Dive, why not follow us on Twitch or Twitter or YouTube? Twitch.tv/Nighthawk20000, YouTube.com/Nighthawk20000, or Twitter.com/DevDivePodcast. Check those out for updates on the show, and just keep an eye out for new episodes. We're having an episode next week. I think I can announce. Yeah, I can announce this because it's been fairly confirmed, and I've been burned in the past because of confirmations that have been unconfirmed. But I'm gonna do it now and tempt fate. We're having Travis Gafford on next week, on the show. And unfortunately, I don't think Larry will be able to make it because we have to do it on a Tuesday, and it's going to be a weird time for him. But me and Travis are going to have a discussion about what we're going to talk about a lot of stuff. I think I'm mostly going to talk about his career in esports interviewing, and a lot of, because he's been in the game for forever, like so long. And I'm sure he's got a lot of interesting stories to tell. So tune in next Tuesday, July 8th, I think it is. Whatever Tuesday in July 2020 is. It's gonna be at 5:30 or 5 p.m. It's just follow the Twitter. I'll keep you guys updated. It's gonna be a good show. And as always, if you can't watch live, watch on YouTube. If you can't watch on YouTube, listen on Spotify or iTunes or Google Podcasts. I appreciate you guys. We've been having a lot of great support coming from the people. We've gone up about 100 subscribers on YouTube since we restarted the show. We've had some people who have left some really kind messages on Reddit, Twitter, and my Discord, and under the YouTube comments themselves. So I appreciate you guys more than anything. It means a lot whenever anyone leaves a nice comment. So, and if you guys want to build the show, share it with your friends, share it with your coworkers or colleagues, people who would be interested in this kind of thing, and we really appreciate it. Yeah, that's all for us today. Thanks for coming to this more scuffed show than normally, but it was a fun time. I think we talked a lot about the world and what our viewpoints on it. So if you like that kind of thing, then tune in for the future. All right, have a good day, everyone.
Yeah, bye.